Okay, so we are back touring the land of Jesus, back studying some various sites that Jesus walked in Israel. And today we're going back to the Galilee. I love the Galilee. So we're going back to the Galilee, to the western shore of the Galilee, to the town called Magdala. Magdala. Maybe you've never heard of Magdala. Magdala is a very significant town. Most people we talked about Capernaum, which is the hometown of Jesus. We saw some other sites, but Magdala tonight. So map. Let's put up a map. So here's I gotta get my thing out. Gotta get my thing out. My pointer. All right. So I got the pointer here. All right, this is Magdala. Okay, so all these little marks are those are little markers. But right down here, Tiberias, Magdala, right here. If you just go right up the shoreline, you come to Tabgha, the loaves and the fishes, the traditional site where Jesus fed the thousands. This is the Mount of Beatitudes up here. Capernaum, so this just gives you an idea. Capernaum is right here. Bethsaida is at the top, and all the way around Curzy, that's where the demoniac, where Jesus. So this gives you, literally straight across is Magdala, and so you can see the location of Mount Arbel. We'll talk. That's Arbel Nature Reserve. We'll talk about that maybe next week. Mount Arbel. It's significant too. But there was some amazing discoveries that were found in Magdala, and believe it or not, it played a significant role in Jesus's ministries. So the discoveries. The thing about Israel is they're always discovering something new. There's always something new there to further validate the Bible. So back in the 60s, they made some amazing discoveries. Well, first of all, Magdala. Magdala is Aramaic, which means tower. Migdal, it's also called Migdal. That's Hebrew. So Magdala is Aramaic. You'll see in your Bible, if you see Migdal, that's the Hebrew. So anyways, based upon some discoveries, they found it was a very wealthy, prestigious city during Jesus' day. It was the largest city in Jesus' day, 40,000 residents, a population of 40,000 people. And so, around the Galilee compared to Capernaum, that's huge. It was right along the international highway. So it would be a mega city. And Magdala, as I mentioned, it means tower. And so there was a discovery found, let me find my picture here, of an ancient, let's see, is it up? Let's see. Oh, are we blocked? Oh, there we go. Of the tower. So they discovered Magdala Tower. So, it's like these discoveries validate that the Bible is true. All of these new discoveries. So it's more than just faith, it's fact. The town of Magdala. So this was discovered in the 60s. For almost 2,000 years, the city was in ruins, but just starting 60 years ago, they started to discover these amazing archaeological recoveries that were found. So they brought Magdala back to life. So they discovered that Magdala was a thriving town on the shore. They discovered homes. They discovered a marketplace. Here's some remains of the town itself. See the beautiful Galilee in the background. They discovered this is a residential area right here that was discovered. And so, this is recent discoveries. 2,000 years lied in ruins. And then, boom, this is resurrected. They also discovered a marketplace, they found that the largest marketplace in the Galilee region was here in Magdala. And so this is the walls and the ancient marketplace. They discovered along the shore an ancient boat harbor, huge. They estimated it to fit 230 boats. So this is a massive area. Today, it's a resort. They've built a hotel and so forth, and so there's boats that are out there today. The Greek name for Magdala is, I don't know how to pronounce it, Taricheae, Taricheae, which was actually what it was called 100 years before Jesus, okay? But Magdala, Aramaic, during Jesus' day, tower, the tower, Migdal, tower, Hebrew. But before Jesus' day, it was Taricheae, which means salted fish. So it was known for fish. It was the fishing industry town, known for catching fish. Salted fish, that would have been the place where they preserved the fish. They preserved and they sold the fish in the large marketplace. And so, I mean, this was the headquarters for the preservation of fish. So you saw Tabgha, the loaves and fishes. So, it's safe to presume the story of the little boy with the 2 loaves had the 2 fish. You ever wondered, what is he doing carrying around? Well, it was preserved with the salt, right? It wasn't just like live fish, stinky fish. It was preserved. So it could possibly presume that he got it here at Magdala, all right? And so, anyways, this is how I'm setting all this up. This is the center for the fish industry in Galilee. So my 3 little points. I like my 3 little points. It works. It keeps it simple. Magdala is a place of fishing. It's a place of fishing. Now, just like the places in Israel, they build churches over these sites, okay? Holy sites or specific landmarks. They build a church here. At Magdala, and this is one of the coolest churches ever. A lot of these churches are weird and creepy with all these weird liturgy and all. This is the coolest church, my favorite church actually, and it's called the Duc in Altum. It's Latin, Ducinaltum. It's 3 words. It's Latin for put out into the deep. Put out into the deep. And so that's the name of the church, the Duc in Altum, which means put out into the deep. And it's a reference to Luke 5:4. Come on here. This is really going slow. Okay. Can't get it to come up. Oh, duh. Okay, there we go. Got to do that. Luke 5:4. When he had finished speaking, he said to Simon, now go out where it is deeper. Put your nets out. Cast your nets into the deep. And let down your nets to catch some fish. Okay, so that's where they got it. So it correlates to the town, okay? There is a picture. This is a picture walking into the church. See the boat? That's the pulpit. That's the pulpit. So that is a cool pulpit. Cast out into the deep. Cast out into the deep. Let's see. Let me get a close-up picture. There's a...
And it's open to the gallery in the back.
It is. That's what I wanted to... Okay, there it is. So yeah, it's open to the galley. So when you're seated in the pews, it gives the illusion that the boat is floating on the water. So it's really cool. So how'd you like to do so? Well, we could open up and have the mountains in the background, right? Really? That's cool. Is it?
The pulpit with the window. It was beautiful.
Up in North Carolina, Franklin Graham's ministry up there, it's open where you can see the mountains. But yeah, that's so. You know, it's all geared around fishing. It's all geared around, well, Luke 5:4, cast your nets out into the deep. So when you're sitting there in the pews, you're getting the illusion of the boat on the water. And of course, we know that Jesus is talking about being fishers of men. You know, it's not just physical fish that Jesus was after, but he told his disciples, I want to make you fishers of men. Matthew 4:19 says, Jesus said to them, follow me, and I will make you fishers of men. And so just as Magdala represents the fishing industry, so at Magdala, the little lesson for us is Jesus is calling us to cast our nets in the deep places. What does that mean? It means we stretch out of our comfort zone to reach people for Jesus. It means we're going to the highways and the byways to reach people for Jesus. And so it's great lesson. So Magdala, it's a place of fishing, and ultimately it's being a fisher of men. Magdala is a place of teaching too. Sorry, just bear with me tonight. It's just going to be a little bit slower as I try to maneuver all of this. Matthew 4:23, and Jesus went about all Galilee, teaching in their synagogues, preaching the gospel of the kingdom, healing all kinds of sickness and all kinds of disease among the people. I want to focus on teaching in their synagogues. Keep that in mind. Teaching in their synagogues. Matthew 15:38 and 39. Now those who ate were 4,000 men, besides women and children, okay? Then verse 39, he sent away the multitude, got into the boat, came down, you remember the map, to the region of Magdala. You got to put that up. There we go. Come on. It's the region of Magdala. Teaching in their synagogues, came to the region of Magdala. As I mentioned, they're always finding new discoveries. In 2009, after 2,000 years, another discovery was found. There's a beautiful hotel there now, but while they were digging for the hotel or preparing for you're always got to do exploratory digs in Israel. You can't just start, because you never know so they were doing an exploratory dig, and they discovered an ancient synagogue. One of the most amazing, it's possibly one of the oldest synagogues that's well preserved today. And so this synagogue, what did we read? Jesus taught in the synagogues all around the region. What do we read in verse 39 of Matthew 15? He went down to Magdala. So here's a picture of the synagogue. So well preserved. I mean, you can see the stones, even the stones are in place. This is another good picture right here. Come on. Man, this is really going slow tonight. Okay, there we go. See, these are the seats, the stone seats that they would sit around. Look at it might be kind of tough to see, but this is all a mosaic. I'll show you its tiles. So, they were thrilled to find this synagogue. Another important find that they've discovered, here we go, it's a mikvah, baptismal pool. We saw that in Jerusalem. And so, if you remember, before you go into the temple, before you go to worship, you had to be cleansed. You had to go into the baptismal pool. So there were mikvahs there. So this synagogue, really, there's no doubt Jesus would have taught here, because this dates back to Jesus' time. And especially, since we saw it mentioned about feeding the 4,000, coming to Magdala, teaching around in the synagogue, teaching in the synagogues around the region. Now, what's even more, in 2010, there was an even more amazing discovery. A stone was found called the Magdala stone. And the stone that was found, the Magdala stone, was actually the podium, here it is, where the rabbis taught from. The stone, the podium, where the Torah was laid. And so let me go back to this picture here. Come on. Wow, this is so dragging. Come on. Okay. Wow, I don't know what to...
School's almost out. It's done thinking.
It's something. The iPad actually worked better than this. And you know it's just how it always is. When you come in during the day and you go through all this, it's boom, 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 it just flies up. Okay. Anyways, I was just going to go back to show you the synagogue. In the center was the stone. That was a replica stone. Okay. This is not the replica. This is there. This is encased. So notice, you'll see how it leans. This is bigger than that side. It's a pulpit, just like a pulpit, okay? You're also going to see, it might be kind of tough from where you're seated, but to see these are gates. It's a gate, okay? On this side and on the other side, it represents the holy gates of the temple, okay? So there's an entrance to go into the temple and an exit to go into the temple. So all of these details were discovered. I mean, this is the original stone, and so all of this is still there. I hope these pictures keep on going because I want to show you the other side. There we go. Can you see that? What is that? It's a menorah.
Would this be like on the front side facing out, like towards the crowd? I'm just thinking because it's towards the higher end.
Yeah, I don't know which. Yeah, this is the high end, so this would be facing towards the crowd. Yeah, that's how it would be. Yeah, it would be raised up. So we know what the menorah means. Of course, menorahs are in the temple. That was a fixture of the temple, but we know that it represents Jesus as the light of the world. Now on the other side, which would be the side facing the rabbi, this is kind of weird, but these are arches, 2 arches, and this is like a wagon wheel or a chariot wheel. You kind of see the circles. And so there's several assumptions of what this means, but the best explanation, and actually in Israel, the resident there actually explained it like this. In 2 Kings chapter 2, when I say the resident, the guy that works at the place, 2 Kings 2, Elijah ascends into heaven on a chariot of fire, the chariots. Ezekiel saw a wheel. So it basically, and I think it's a good explanation, the wheels represents the presence and the power of God. And so it seems that is speaking of God's presence. And so I just think that's so amazing. All of these years buried in the ground, and all of that is just still so clear. So we see the menorah, we see the holy gates, we see the chariots, wheels, which represents the presence of God. I mean, this further validates the Bible is true. You know what else it validates? It validates that the Jews were there 2,000 years ago. It validates that the Jews are not occupiers of the land. They were there 2,000 years ago. Judaism was alive and well 2,000 years ago. So all of this is just, it's undisputable. Now, in line with that, in the synagogue, there was a floor mosaic. I mentioned the mosaic, but look how clear that is, the mosaic. Now, what is that a picture of? It's a wheel. See how it goes together? Almost 2,000 years old, and they find the mosaic just like just as clear as could be. Here's another, come on. All right, so there's another mosaic right there. So as I mentioned, the synagogue clearly it's clearly defined and preserved. It validates the Bible. It validates Jesus. It validates Judaism. It validates the temple. And as I mentioned, the Jews lived in the land 2,000 years ago. So Magdala, the fishing hub. It's also a place where Jesus taught. This would have been a very well-off place. So you can pretty much tell that synagogue must have been a beautiful synagogue with the mosaic and the tiles. That's just not every synagogue is like that. So it just shows the wealth of the area. Now, here's a third point. And this is a major point. Magdala is a place of encounters. In that church is a stained glass. It's a stained glass picture. Yeah, it is beautiful. It's a picture of Jesus with a woman having an encounter. A woman is having an encounter with Jesus. Who do you think that woman is who's having an encounter with Jesus? Mary Magdala. Magdalene. So Magdala is the home of Mary Magdalene. So yeah, 7 demons. Mary Magdalene is the one that had Jesus cast 7 demons out of. By the way, Josephus was also he was a Jewish historian. He was kind of like a Benedict Arnold. He turned on the Jews in a sense and was a historian for the Romans. But anyways, Mary Magdalene is from Magdala. And, when you think of Mary and just studying this week and looking through all these scriptures, man, she was very much involved in Jesus's ministry. She was faithful to the Lord. Let's look at some scriptures. Luke 8, 1 through 3. Let me pull it up here. Luke 8, 1 through 3. It says, soon afterward, Jesus began a tour of the nearby towns and villages, preaching and announcing the good news about the kingdom of God. Okay, so his ministry's in motion now. He's really getting out into to minister. He took his 12 disciples with him. Okay, come on. Along with some women. Who says women can't be in ministry? This would have been like this culture of this day. It was a male-dominated culture. The women were to stay home. But Jesus, he basically he brings his whole new kingdom in, and he brings the women and the men involved in his ministries. And so it says, along with some women he had healed, and from whom he had cast out evil spirits. Among them were Mary Magdalene, from whom he had cast out 7 demons, Joanna, the wife of Chuza, is how that's pronounced, Herod's business manager, Susanna, and many others who were contributing their own resources to support Jesus and his disciples. So Jesus, he cast out 7 demons. It says here, verify here, from Mary Magdalene. Now, when you think of Mary Magdalene, a lot of times it's taught Mary Magdalene, she was a prostitute. She was a harlot. She's dirty. She's poor. She's scum of society, just scraping along. But actually, there's no evidence in the Bible that Mary was a prostitute. No evidence. In Luke 7, it speaks of a woman that poured out her best to Jesus, but that doesn't confirm it's Mary. And actually, some have even tried to say Mary Magdalene and Jesus were married, that's heresy right there. But actually, when you read this scripture closer, in this particular scripture right here, you'll actually find that maybe Mary wasn't who we think that she is. Luke's accounts. Luke is a doctor. Luke is a doctor. So Luke, a lot of his writings, he's given like things in chronological order. He's very orderly. He's giving a detailed report. So Luke, if you look at this, let's look back. It says, along with some women, among them were Mary Magdalene, from whom he had cast out 7 demons. Verse 8, Joanna, the wife of Chuza, Herod's business manager, Susanna, and many others who were contributing their own resources to support Jesus and his disciples. Scholars actually believe that Luke is giving an account of basically a donor's list of Jesus' ministry. These are people who are supporting Jesus' ministry. Of course, he's showing the women who supported Jesus' ministry. Scholars actually also believe that when they're listing the donors, the biggest donor first, second, third. So if you look at it, he lists Mary first. Then Joanna. Now let's just think. Is Mary really a prostitute? Poor. Harlot. Because look who she's associated with. Joanna, the wife of Chuza, Herod's business manager. So this lady she's got some esteem. I mean, this is like Herod's chief of staff, financial advisor. So do you think, we're talking King Herod. Do you think they're going to hang out with the worst of society? No. Then he mentioned Susanna. There's really nothing mentioned about Susanna. Here's where I'm getting at. Theologians actually believe that Mary was likely a wealthy widow who was healed of demons. She was demon possessed, but she was a wealthy widow who was very, well off, that Jesus touched her life, healed her, and she started putting her money to supporting the ministry of Jesus. And so that's a position that many take, and it kind of seems logical if you look at Luke chapter 8. So Mary, she was so faithful to Jesus. She was at the trial of Jesus. When all the other disciples ran away, except a couple, John, they ran away. Mary was there, and Mary stood by Jesus. Some women were there watching from a distance, including Mary Magdalene, Mary the mother of James the younger and of Joseph, and Salome. She also stood with Jesus by the cross when he was being crucified. John 19:25. Standing near the cross were Jesus' mother and his mother's sister, Mary, the wife of Clopas, and Mary Magdalene. That's where they get the widow there. Mary Magdalene, she also helped to buy expensive spices to anoint Jesus' body. Mark 16, verse 1 says, Saturday evening when the Sabbath ended, Mary Magdalene and Salome and Mary the mother of James went out and purchased burial spices so they could anoint Jesus' body. This was the finest spices and expense. So it kind of further proves, possibly the wealth that Mary had. Mary Magdalene was also the first person who saw Jesus alive when he was resurrected. Mark 16, verse 9. After Jesus rose from the dead early on Sunday morning, the first person who saw him was Mary Magdalene, the woman from whom he had cast out 7 demons. And she went to the disciples, and it's freezing again, who were grieving and weeping, and told them what had happened. Acts chapter 1, I don't have it on the screen. I insert into my notes. Acts chapter 1, verse 13 says, when they arrived, they went to the upstairs room, or the upper room of the house where they were staying. Acts 1:14 says they all met together. Remember the disciples praying in the upper room on the day of Pentecost? They all met together and were constantly united in prayer, along with Mary, the mother of Jesus, several other women, and the brothers of Jesus. I'm sure Mary Magdalene, based on her history of being with Jesus, following Jesus, she was probably in the upper room with them. So the point is, I mean, here was a lady that was touched, that was set free from demonic activity. The Lord healed her, and she devoted her life, her resources, everything to following Jesus. And actually, she's called the 13th disciple. That's what she's called, because there's no doubt she, even after Jesus was resurrected and ascended, and after Pentecost, I'm sure that she followed along the disciples and the apostles to minister. There's not a history about her death. There's just some speculation. I tried to find out, how she died. The disciples died a martyr, and actually some women died martyrs too. I didn't see that. I don't know how she died. Maybe it was natural causes. And so with Mary Magdalene, the first lesson here is, here's a woman who faithfully served the Lord. She was part of Jesus's ministry. And I think it's important to mention, in that culture, that male-dominated culture, Jesus welcomed women. Look at all the women. And actually the most faithful to Jesus were women. There at the cross, the first person Jesus appeared to. And so it should encourage all the women. We all, male, female, we all have a ministry for the Lord. The second lesson is, she's just a model of just sacrifice. She's a model of what it means to love the Lord with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind and strength. And she was delivered, she was changed, and she would spend the rest of her life following Jesus. So here's how I'm going to close. Magdala ended in a tragedy. If you remember, AD 70, Jerusalem was burned by the Romans. Sent the Jews scattered, diasporas, sent them, excommunicated them from the land. As a matter of fact, the Jews couldn't even go into the temple. They couldn't even go. They weren't even allowed back into Jerusalem. They were sent out. So that whole campaign started in AD 67, when the Jews started to revolt against Roman oppression. And actually Magdala was one of the bases, a fortified base of the Jewish revolt. So it became a haven for the rebels, the Jewish rebels. In AD 67, the Romans surrounded Magdala, defeated the Jews. And actually Josephus wrote that thousands of Jews tried to escape the Galilee, and there was a battle on the sea. And the Romans killed every one of those Jews that tried to escape, and that the blood was so many killed that the Galilee turned red because of the blood. Thousands were killed. From Magdala, Rome took 6,000 strong men to Greece to help build a canal. Actually, Corinth. 30,000 citizens were sold into slavery from Magdala. So it just ended in a tragedy. Here's how I was thinking about this when I was considering the history and thinking it's a place of encounters. Even if you go on the website, the Magdala website, it'll say a place of encounters. The church that I mentioned, there's a little chapel downstairs, which is actually just a little small chapel. The stone of the chapel floor is actually the stone of the road that dates back to Jesus' day. But it's called the Encounter Chapel. And in that, let me hope this comes up, because I really want you to see this picture. Come on. In that little chapel is a beautiful painting. Come on. Okay, good. Look how beautiful that painting is. That's the actual streets of Magdala. Here's a close-up. Let's see. you can see those Jesus' feet, all the people that are rushing, that are surrounded, and that's the focal point right there. It's the lady touching the fringe of the garment. Oh, come on. I hate that. You can look it up for yourself. There's devils in this. But it's absolutely, it's like you stand there and it's like, wow, the detail of it. And I really wish I could let you see, but you can see, you can purchase prints of this. I mean, people were purchasing prints of it. It's just a beautiful picture. But it's the encounter, the lady with the issue of blood. As a matter of fact, the vestibule of the church, it's dedicated to women of the Bible, famous women. So it just highlights women, famous women in Jesus' ministry. So here's what I thought about this. This city was destroyed. And thinking about this encounter, the place of encounter, the place where Mary was delivered. And there's the beautiful picture of the lady touching the hem of Jesus. Oh, there we go. Looky there. Now it just decides. But the city was destroyed. The enemy came. The enemy defeated the Jews. The enemy took away their freedom, sold them into slavery. But when you have an encounter with Jesus, you're always free. That's what came to my mind. They can take away your freedom. They can burn your town. They can destroy everything. But an encounter with Jesus, you're always free. You always live in victory. You're no longer in slavery to sin. One encounter with Jesus changes your life. And so even all these years later, it's Magdala's rubble. It's rubble that's come back to life somewhat. But still, it's going to remain rubble. But a person who has an encounter with Jesus, they become resurrected. They become new in Christ. And so I thought that's a great little challenge when you consider the history of the town. So the question is, have you had an encounter with Jesus? Have you had an encounter with Jesus? Because if you've had an encounter with Jesus, your life's not going to be the same. You're going to be a faithful follower. You're going to serve. You're going to give. You're not going to walk around in gloom and doom and under oppression. You're going to be free. And so that's the challenge for us. Have we had an encounter with Jesus? And so we'll close it right there.